Okay, so let's say you suddenly inherit a massive fortune, like more money than you could ever dream of. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, wow. I don't know, probably something sensible like set up a trust fund for my kids.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe buy a private island.
Right, or maybe even like start a charity, something to give back.
Right, that makes sense. But
Mhm.
we're talking about Sarah Winchester here, the heir to the Winchester rifle fortune.
Yeah,
And, well, she decided to build a house.
but not just any house.
Not even close.
This was a sprawling 160-room Victorian mansion in California. And get this, it's filled with staircases that lead straight to the ceiling, doors that open to nothing but a 15-foot drop. It's like an architectural puzzle box.
And that's just scratching the surface. It's easy to get lost in the strange details of the Winchester Mystery House, but what's really fascinating is the why behind it all.
Exactly. It's not just about eccentric design choices. This house offers a glimpse into the psychology of obsession, grief, maybe even guilt.
Right. So for those who haven't heard of this place, we're talking late 1800s. Sarah Winchester is dealing with the unimaginable loss of both her infant daughter and then, tragically, her husband.
And let's not forget the source of her family's wealth, the Winchester rifle.
Right. Now, we don't have her diaries or personal letters to confirm this for sure, but it's easy to imagine the weight of that legacy on top of everything else she was going through.
Absolutely. And what we do have is this architectural marvel that seems to defy logic. Construction went on for 38 years, almost without pause.
38 years.
It's true. It's like she just kept adding on rooms and staircases and these bizarre features, almost as if she was trying to confuse something or someone. There's even a door, famously known as the door to nowhere, which opens to a sheer drop into the garden.
Wait, seriously, a door to absolutely nowhere. Was she trying to prank unsuspecting guests?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but that brings us to the most common theory surrounding the Winchester Mystery House, that Sarah believes she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles.
Okay, so we're going full-on ghost story here. I am so in. Tell me everything.
Imagine being in Sarah's position, grieving, potentially feeling incredibly guilty, and then someone tells you that this ever-expanding, constantly changing house could somehow appease or confuse these spirits.
So less of a grand design and more of a desperate attempt at peace.
Real.
That's heartbreaking in a way.
It really is, and the house itself almost feels designed to be haunted. Dark hallways, secret passages, windows that look into other rooms instead of outside.
And don't even get me started on the seance room.
Right. This small, windowless chamber just adds to the mystique. Some say that Sarah Winchester held nightly rituals there, attempting to communicate with spirits, maybe even receive instructions for the house's construction.
Wait, hold on. Instructions. Like actual blueprints from beyond the grave.
It sounds crazy, right? And it gets even wilder. Some people theorize that Sarah wasn't trying to keep the spirits out, but rather to contend them within the house.
So instead of a safe haven, it's more like a gilded cage for restless spirits.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But it speaks to this very human need to try to understand the chaos of the world around us. Maybe Sarah Winchester was just trying to impose order on her grief, find a way to manage the guilt, real or imagined, and this house, this ever-evolving labyrinthine mansion that became her legacy.
But the story doesn't just end when Sarah Winchester dies in 1922, does it?
Oh, not at all. In fact, if anything, the Winchester Mystery House almost becomes even more intriguing after her death.
Oh, how so?
Well, because that's when the reports of, shall we say, unusual phenomena really start coming in.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, the classic haunted house stuff. Footsteps when no one's there, cold spots, people hearing their names whispered. You name it, the Winchester Mystery House has probably got a story about it.
Okay, see, now this is what I'm talking about. So we're not just talking about, like, Sarah Winchester's unique design choices anymore. We're talking about potential paranormal activity.
Right. And what's interesting is that a lot of the reports aren't about, full-on ghost sightings. It's more about everyday things happening in a way that just feels off.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, imagine you're walking down a hallway, right? And you just get this sudden chill, or a door slams shut even though there's no wind. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, you're starting to creep me out a little bit. And I'm not even there.
Right. It plays on those primal instincts, right? Like when you're home alone at night and hear noise.
Speaking of which, one of the accounts we found that I thought was really interesting was, okay, so there was a visitor.
Mm-hmm.
And they were exploring the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they just get hit with this wave of cold air.
And it's a warm day outside.
Yeah. And as they get closer to this one particular room, the temperature just keeps dropping.
Oh,
And they start to feel this pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah, like something or someone is pushing back against them, trying to keep them out of the room.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Right. It really makes you wonder.
Yeah, no kidding. That story really speaks to what I think is one of the most common experiences people report at the Winchester Mystery House. And that's the feeling of, well, a presence.
Not even a ghost, necessarily, just a presence.
Right. And, when you think about Sarah Winchester's own state of mind, the grief, maybe even fear that she might have been experiencing.
You're saying that the house itself absorbed all of that.
It's possible. Some people believe that places can hold on to energy.
So it's not just negative energy either, right?
Mm.
What about the people who talk about feeling a deep sadness there?
Absolutely. That's another common thread, especially in certain rooms, like the seance room, for example.
What about?
A lot of visitors describe it as intensely oppressive, like the walls themselves are just heavy with sorrow.
Oh, man. See, that is creepy. But even creepier, I think, are the stories from the people who worked there while Sarah Winchester was still alive.
Oh, right. The ones who claim to have seen figures in, like, old Victorian clothing.
Yes. And then they just vanish, like right before anyone can get a good look at it. What's up with that?
Well, that aligns with what some people call residual hauntings. It's like, imagine them as energetic imprints, echoes of the past, replaying themselves over and over again.
So you mean like the Winchester Mystery House, with all the constant construction and everything going on, was like a giant recording device. And those recordings are still playing on a loop all these years later.
It's a possibility, right? I mean, think about it. The sheer scale of the house, the constant changes. It's not hard to imagine that some of that energy might have gotten, well, stuck.
It's like I go back and forth, because on the one hand, you have this woman dealing with this incredible loss.
Yeah.
And she pours all of her grief and, let's be honest, her considerable wealth into this, well, increasingly strange project. But then there's this other part of me that wonders, what if she was onto something? Like, what if Sarah Winchester was, I don't know, brilliant in a way that we just don't fully grasp?
It's that question, that what if,
Yeah.
that keeps people coming back to the Winchester Mystery House. It defies easy explanation.
And it's not just the house itself, right? Didn't the Winchester Mystery House go through some pretty big changes, even beyond all the additions that Sarah Winchester was making?
Well, absolutely. We can't talk about the Winchester Mystery House without talking about the 1906 San Francisco earthquake.
Oh, right. Yeah, that must have just, I don't know, shaken things up a bit, literally.
It did some serious damage to the house. But here's the thing. Instead of seeing this as a sign to maybe, scale things back a little,
What?
Sarah Winchester, she interpreted it as a message from the spirits.
No way. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was convinced that they were unhappy with her progress, that she needed to double down on the construction. Some parts of the house were even just sealed up after the earthquake, left untouched.
So instead of like rebuilding, she just kept going.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is. And honestly, it makes you think, about the weight of believing something so strongly and what that might drive a person to do.
Yeah. A lot to process. But okay, I gotta ask, are we really talking about ghosts here? Or are we just talking about, a woman with a lot of money and some unconventional ideas about architecture?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But you're right, those ghost stories, they're a huge part of the Winchester Mystery House's legacy.
Because, let's be honest, that's what we're all really interested in, right?
Of course. It's the human condition. We're drawn to the unexplained, the mysterious. But what I find really interesting are the stories that aren't about full-on apparitions, but rather these little things, things that make you question your own senses.
Like what?
Like, imagine you're in the Winchester Mystery House, right? You're walking down a hallway and you just feel like a cold spot. Or you hear your name whispered. Or maybe you see something move out of the corner of your eye, but when you turn to look, there's nothing there. Those are the stories that really get to you.
Because it makes you wonder, Like, what if it was real?
Exactly. And we can't forget about the power of suggestion either. The Winchester Mystery House, it has a reputation. People go there expecting certain things to happen.
So are you saying it's all in our heads?
I'm just saying, we can't rule out the possibility that our own beliefs and expectations might influence what we experience.
I get that. I do. But you know what? I kind of want to believe.
I don't blame you. There's something undeniably appealing about a good mystery. We're hardwired to look for answers, to try to make sense of things.
So where does that leave us? Is the Winchester Mystery House haunted? Or is it just a really, really weird house?
Honestly, I think that's for each person to decide for themselves.
I like that. Because in the end, whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Winchester Mystery House makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you question your assumptions about the world, maybe even about yourself. And sometimes that's more powerful than any definitive answer.
It really is. Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the Winchester Mystery House. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.